ladies and gentlemen. You may know me as that guy from IWA Deep South that did the Saw matches. Kind of got a legacy going on with that, but today we're here to discuss something that's long overdue, and that's who was John Rare before everybody hated him. Who was John Rare before he stabbed Spider Boudreaux? Who was the American one, John Rare, before everybody hated this guy? I was just a simple kid. Born in Birmingham, Alabama, 1983. Grew up in the Leeds area till I was about 6. Parents got divorced. You know, this is not a sobby family story. My family life growing up was great. I got to spend summers with my grandparents, my dad, school years, and, the regular time, I'd be with my mom, grandparents, aunt, uncle, normal family life. It was never nothing negative about my life growing up. Every teen is a depressed teen. I was one of them depressed teens, but, I was depressed because bullshit, not family related. I'm just saying, a lot of wrestlers grow up, they got issues, especially deathmatch wrestlers. Grow up, they have issues growing up. That's not my story. My story is a little bit more happy, and I'm happy to, explain it to you the best I can. So, we moved to Illinois when I was around 6 years old. I grew up loving wrestling. WWF was my main outlet. I did not watch WCW. I wasn't a fan of it. They did have great talent. I just wasn't a fan of it. Now, my dad introduced me to ECW, and obviously, the hardcore was completely fucking awesome. I loved it. And one time at the mall with my mom, I seen a videotape called Stranglemania, which had Cactus Jack on there. And obviously, being an ECW fan, I picked the tape up along. I think I picked up Stranglemania 1 and Stranglemania 2 all at one time. And obviously, got introduced to death matches. One of the most famous tournaments of all time, obviously over there in Japan. And I absolutely fucking loved it. Now, in school, I was a normal, didn't pay attention, really didn't care about my grades, barely made it through. My mom kept on me about it. I was just a hard-headed teen that didn't want to listen. But I found a friend that had the same type of dream. He loved wrestling. And I don't know what got us on the subject about backyard wrestling and what got us to actually be motivated to do it. I do remember when we pitched the idea to the parents at first, it was a hard no, you're not going to do backyard wrestling. But as you know, that didn't last long. Me and RJ, he went by Randy the Effin' Dill. This was also in Pittsburgh, Illinois. We started off with a hardcore basketball match. Because, I'm a basketball fan. I was a Chicago Bulls fanatic, still am. Michael Jordan is forever the greatest basketball player to this date. Not LeBron James. And we had a hardcore basketball match. We basically played basketball and hit each other with sticks. And the footage is not uploaded technically yet, but maybe it will be. And all my backyard footage that you will see, all you have to do is go to YouTube, type in a backyard legacy, and you literally have thousands of matches to choose from. From when I was in Illinois, I started in 2000, the BWF, which stood for Backyard Wrestling Foundation, And, that lasted for years. Like, the amount of friends that I picked up along the way was amazing. Like, it started with me and Randy the fucking Dill, which we just said effing back in the day. Me and him wrestled probably for almost a full year, I would say, with no extra people. And this is a awesome fact that I definitely want to put out there, is in 2000, I started using the name Thumbtack Jack. And obviously, after years, in the backyard, someone actually contacted me and they were like, why are you using Thumbtack Jack's name? He's an established wrestler. I looked it up on Yahoo or Google somewhere. I looked up the information. The actual Thumbtack Jack that everybody refers to started in 2001. So I was technically a year ahead of him, even though he was pro and I was backyard. I just wanted to put that out there. Now, we did some crazy shit. Like, we would go from the backyard, jump off the roofs of these barns, do all kinds of crazy shit. John Rare wasn't invented for maybe a year to a year and a half. This was just John Alexander, Randy the effing Dill out there, putting on all kinds of crazy hardcore matches in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I went to Alabama every summer to spend my summer vacation with my family in Alabama. My cousin Amanda, we would always play with the action figures, wrestling action figures, put on wrestling shows and shit like that with the action figures when I was younger. And we actually set up like a corner for like a wrestling match, me and her. My grandparents recorded it. It wasn't punching or kicking, it was just wrestling holds, basically. I ended up busting her mouth open, or busting her lip open, declared myself the winner. And I was young, obviously. I want to say this was around the time, I would say roughly Austin was the champ when he fought Kane at King of the Ring. It was around that time. It's years ago. Don't know the actual date. Sorry. I'm just trying to feed you a shitload of information about me, John Alexander, before everybody fucking hated me for basically no reason. But let's get off that subject. Let's get back on before they hated Rare, because that's what everybody's here for. They want to know who I was. So I'm feeding you this damn information right now. Me and RJ, we picked up the Backyard in Illinois. Backyard Wrestling Foundation. We wrestled on thumbtacks. We used fire. We jumped off barns. We used chairs. It was just, all kinds of madness. And eventually, hell, we used glass too. Eventually, we got where the parents necessarily didn't care that we were doing it because, hell, we were doing it all the time. And yes, we actually did have injuries. I would use the barbed wire fence that was set up there because it was in a fucking field for horses and cows that my uncle had. So we would do all kinds of crazy shit like that. And You know, we're talking years and years of backyard wrestling. I had some injuries throughout, and you know, we got where we were always trying to up each other in every match. You know, you go up 8 steps on the ladder, I would go up 9. You know, the next one he'd go up 10, and eventually we worked our way all the way up to that fucking top of the ladder. And RJ was a bigger guy than me. He didn't want to fucking do too much crazy shit because we were falling on the fucking ground. We would put a tarp on the ground, and that was it. That's all we would be falling on. One time he dared me to go to the top of the fucking ladder, and this is, I want to say this was like a 14-foot ladder, because it was definitely bigger than a 12. So I say 14 or 16-foot ladder. He dared me to go up on the top of it with a chair shot. You know, fall down, hit him with a chair. I did it. The next one, he was like, okay, I want you to go to the top of the ladder, hit me with a famouser. So you're talking about me being in the air, 14, 16 foot, whatever the fuck it was, coming down with a leg drop as a famouser. I did it. Fucked me up. You know, pure ground, you gotta think. Falling that distance with just a leg drop, it fucked me up. Bad. And that was my first real injury in the backyard. But you know, we kept going. I invented the Thumbtack Jack character as a step in. He invented a character called Ghost Rider. You know, that way, so it wasn't just RJ and John over and over and over. We eventually met someone that I would bully when we were in school on the bus, Adam Davis, who went by multiple names like Osama bin Davis, Pimp Daddy Davis, which Pimp Daddy was the biggest character that he had. You know, now we had 3. We started to grow a little bit because RJ would bring in his cousin, Blackheart, who, for the love of God, did not have no wrestling ability. He was more of just a brawler fighter. That's all he did. Adam brought in some people, would change it up a little bit. He brought in Bongo, which was Hitman, and Bad Boy. Badass came in. You know, we grew as a group. And, you know, before we knew it, we had this big-ass backyard group. Doing shows, trying every week, if not every other week. And this was the BWF. So if you look up on a Backyard Legacy, look at the BWF area, and that's when I started. Me and RJ, Adam, and then obviously these more and more people came in. Then there was a shocker. My wife, to this day, I found her back in these days, Sheena Alexander, went by Shady Jane. We introduced the first girl to the backyard. And that was a game changer because a few of the guys did not like this idea at all. Like, they did not want a woman wrestling in the backyard with us. But that was my girlfriend. I was the boss of the backyard, and you know, I was the leader, so it was my way or the highway. And you know, some of them took the highway, but I remained, obviously, and it was a great experience because throughout all these years and all these matches, we developed, you know, some skills. We developed moves. We developed a chemistry together, and we started learning these moves the right way. And oh my God, I just busted my ass right there. Now, I was a huge fan of Sabu. So, you know, obviously when you would watch me on, oh, look at the thumbtacks all in my back there. Now, see, that's one of my first matches right behind me. We would use thumbtacks. I caught my hair on fire, and while the match was going, you could hear my mom behind the camera yelling because she smelt my hair on fire. She was pissed. But, you know, I kept going. Look at this, right into the thumbtacks. RJ necessarily wouldn't take the thumbtacks, but I never had a problem with it. And, you know, it just elevated constantly. More and more stuff would happen. More weapons would happen. We eventually brought out glass. And the BWF, to me, when it was at its strongest, I was like, you know what, guys? Let's change it up. We've got a good thing going here next to a barn, but let's change the style and let's change the area. We completely moved out. We moved to a new location next to a trailer, like a a mobile home trailer. We called it the Yard. So we started brand new, started over, and obviously the trailer was higher, so it developed a thing of, okay, who's going to jump off the trailer? Who's going to do the bigger stunts off the higher, you know, product that we got here? And obviously me and a guy named DOC. We were the high risks guys, so we fell off the damn thing, and we would wrestle during the summer. We would wrestle during the winter, and you know, this is Illinois, so we'd be out there in damn snow like crazy. And we did all kinds of fucking stunts. We would use the vehicles, you know, to hit each other. We would use four-wheelers. We had all the shit in the world out there. And I know I've mentioned it already twice, but here's 3 times. Type in a Backyard Legacy, and you can see all of this footage that I'm speaking about. And literally hundreds. So we developed into the Yard, and we got some new people coming out. And yet again, we're so many people in there. My wife, my girlfriend at the time, Shady Jane, wanted to start her own fed competition, which competition is always fucking good. But she wanted to start her own backyard fed out there. And I was like, you know what? You want to do it? Let's fucking do it. I had the Yard. She started BWE, which I want to say it was Backyard Wrestling Extreme, I guess. I'm a little lost on that one. Backyard Wrestling Extreme or Backyard Wrestling Entertainment. I can't remember. But she started that. She had her own guys. I had my guys. And we had friendly competition for a while. But the competition in me got a little bit sour, and I used one of my guys to actually go over to the BWE, her organization, win her championship, and come back to my organization and screw her over. That was my mentality, even in the backyard, to be like the top guy, the top producer, the top promoter, that I screwed over my own girlfriend from her organization. No, she was pissed. Shady Jane was pissed. But, she kept going. And what was bad, she had to even keep going that day because I think she had another, more matches on her show. And, to me, that shows my mentality of competition that I had, even in the backyard. I wanted to be the champion. Hell, I wanted to be her champion. There was another organization, a rival that we had in the backyard. I wanted to be their champion. And that didn't happen, obviously, but I did steal some of their people. And, like I said, our backyard organization was huge. Between BWF to BWE and the Yard. But after years, literally years of the same people over and over, drama, egos, and just, life in general, everybody started to fade away. We invented EIW, which was Extreme Insane Wrestling. The promoter was actually Thumbtack Jack, which was me under the mask. At this point, my life in Illinois was really sucking. No jobs for me. I couldn't hold a job. We were just unhappy. Me and my wife. We moved. We started EIW, did a few matches, and in the winter we were like, we're done. We're done with Illinois. It was time to start a new life. So we packed our bags, threw them in the back of a car, and literally moved down here. We ended up staying in Leeds, Alabama, but the first place we stopped was Irondale at a hotel. That's where we were going to stay, in the damn parking lot. We were literally going to sleep in the damn car. We didn't have nowhere to go. My grandparents found out that I was down here. They offered up their couch for me and her. So that's where we moved. Now, didn't have any, thrive to do any wrestling. But we ended up moving to another place in Leeds. Had some woods behind it and then a little clear pasture. We ended up throwing a mattress out there, and me and my wife, Shady Jane, put on a few matches. That was my desire to keep going. And when we moved yet again, because we moved out of that place, we moved to an apartment building. And inside the apartment building itself, we put on wrestling, recorded it, and we would wrestle, I swear, everywhere we go. And I owe my whole career to my wife, because she kept me going so many times when there was no outlet to do. Adam Davis moved down here for a little bit. Me and him even did a match in the apartment. And it's just, it was the desire that I had to keep going when there was nothing there for me. It was my wife that kept me going. She would always give me that one match that I asked for. No matter where we were at, in a fucking field, in an apartment building, she kept me going. My original dream was to go to Dory Funk's school in Florida with, RJ. That didn't happen. Obviously, plans change, shit happens. So that was my original plan. It didn't happen. But the wheels kept rolling. Time kept going. Look at this shit right behind me. Back in the day, this was like the big fall. I just got thrown off a fucking bus there. My mom was pissed. But we kept going. It was my dream to do backyard wrestling. I wouldn't say it was my dream ever to be in the professional ring, because I never thought of it that way. I did want to go get trained, but the backyard always seemed to be home for me, so I kept coming back to the backyard. We eventually moved to another place in Leeds, and guess what? They had a backyard. Big backyard. I worked with a guy named Mike Norris, and guess what? Him and his brother, backyard, wrestled in a group called TWF, which I want to say it was actually just called Trampoline Wrestling or something. I don't know. That was their thing. But they met up with me. None of their stuff was recorded. They met up with me. Guess what? I recorded every damn backyard match I ever did. So, we put on a show. BWA, Mother's Day Massacre, or Mother's Day's Mayhem, something like that. I put on a match. We put on a show. Me, Mike, Switchblade, Goose, and Big James. More and more people started coming in, and the BWA grew to be the biggest backyard group I've ever had. We intermingled with so many other groups. HIW, which was Piedmont, CBW, which was out of Chelsea, Alabama, EWE, TWF. There was another one. Damn, I can't remember that one. But there was so many different backyard feds that BWA affiliated with. And BWA was huge now. To throw this out there, the BWA was so popular that promoters would reach out to us on MySpace for us to so-called go get trained with them. And that's actually where the Thumbtack Jack incident happened, whenever I got called out for using his name. And at the time, I didn't know there was a Thumbtack Jack. But I didn't change it until I went pro, because I changed it to Mad Jack. Now, we did all these crazy spots, through the years, with RJ throwing hedge path off the barn. I obviously got thrown off the barn. Big James wanted to spear me off of my fucking house. And then we're talking about a 2-story house here. That did not fucking happen. Like, fuck that. Fuck you, Big James. That was going to be a crazy spot, but for my livelihood, it didn't fucking happen. Now, BWA, as I said, was huge. And it was the people that got developed in it that was amazing. So many people went pro. So many people actually got out there. You had Cadillac Kid. He went pro. MYK did pro. Obviously John Rare. Big James Mayhem. And get this. Corey Hollis was in my backyard. So many of them. And they just kept coming. At Carnage Cup 7, the AKA janitor guy, Sloppy J, guess what? He was in my backyard. So many people that trained with us and did weekly shows with us in the backyard went pro. Now, it's not egotistical. We just had talent.
It's NYK. Oh my God. Pussy behind the fucking weapon, that's what it is. Oh man, I challenge you to a video. Hey, do this play. Yeah, we just gotta have a who's going to have the rules? What's hiding behind the rules? That's a real mess sport. Hardcore that knows. Hardcore ain't shit. That's good. Oh, that's what everybody wants to see. Well, nobody wants to see hardcore. If anybody wanted to see hardcore, ECW would be on its fucking own. It's not WWE. You brought it back. The money. You want to know why they didn't have the money? Because they didn't have the popularity. Because nobody wants to see that shit. They had TNN, the same channel that WWE went to, and did great. She was hot by rules. Whatever.
GCW of Alabama had a guy, Aaron Daniels, who worked for them, and he actually quit a professional wrestling business to come to the backyard and AKA be the voice, the commissioner, and he eventually ended up working, wrestling with us and won the damn championship in controversial fashion. Now, all of this can be found when you type in a Backyard Legacy on YouTube, and you'll have BWF, you'll have Yard, BWE, EIW, and BWA. Thousands of matches for you to watch.
Oh, my Lord. People, I don't know. This is too extreme for us. Oh my gosh, they're both down. And Switchblade's gonna come in.
So it was my desire in the backyard to constantly push the envelope. We did barbed wire. We got into the fluorescent bulbs, huge, in BWA. We started having bloodier and bloodier matches, and eventually this is where injuries started to happen. cut deep. It's cut deep. Is he okay? Where is he? Holy shit.
It's still bleeding. You need to go put some over it. Hey, you look at it. Don't try. You can turn around now. Turn around. I got a shirt, man. You got any Oh, hey, he's got some.
You know, me and Big James came off the top of a huge fucking ladder. And you know, some of this was on the trampoline in BWA. Like, it changed from Illinois to Alabama. But it was the desire to put on a hellacious backyard show every week. That's what I did. And I put it on with a hellacious fucking crew. Didn't get trained for a long time. I eventually got a call from a guy that wrestled at the Mud Tavern, and we went up there to train one night. Me and Talon Sorrells. We went up there, got our ass beat. Supposed to have wrestled, but it didn't happen. So, backyard is what we did again. We did the backyard wrestling for so long. That became the habit for me. And I don't think I mentioned this earlier. You know, I was John Alexander. Just the boy. Backyard wrestling. I was like, you know what? I want to change my name. I want a different name. So I was like, okay, John Rare. Where did that name come from? And this is what's funny. My whole fucking name, my whole persona, my whole gimmick, the John Rare name literally came from John being my first name. Rare came from one of the games that I loved. It was a company. Donkey Kong was made by Rare. It was the name of the company, Rare. I liked the name. So I was like, alright, John Rare. I was like, what rhymes with Rare? Nightmare. So I became the Nightmare John Rare. Simple enough, right? That's how I came up with my damn name. I just found something that rhymed with Rare, and I took the name Rare from a video game. That's my name. And obviously it stuck. More people call me John Rare than they call me John Alexander. Period. I was the guy that was always climbing the ladder, trying to go higher and higher, do more crazy shit than anybody else. Look, this is one of my famous. No, that's a stunner! Holy shit.
Metal sticking to their backs. It looks like he's trying to shoot my God! Unbelievable! Oh my God!
Now, you know, what else can I fucking say? Everybody hated me because I stabbed Spider Boudreaux, right? It was because of a simple stab with a simple box cutter that the internet blew up over. And let's be honest, this is just me getting off subject real quick. If anybody else would have stabbed somebody else, literally, if Nick Gage would have stabbed a G-Raver, nothing would be said. Best gimmick ever. If, what is that guy's name? Marcus Crow stabbed somebody. Best gimmick ever. Let's be honest. The only reason they hated that fucking spot was because it was a nobody, John Rare, taking on Spider Boudreaux. That's why they hated that fucking spot. That's why they hated John Rare.
Oh my God! Oh, this is way too much. Oh my God! His face could be.
But let's get off that subject. Let's have peace here. Because good Lord, people jump to hate us, to hate me especially, but to hate the Deep South for a lot of fucking reasons that really don't fucking exist. Over simple shit. But we continue. I got trained. There. We bounced around a little bit more in the backyard, constantly doing our weekly shows like we always did.
You look quite ugly in that mirror. Always ugly. Oh, okay. Well, since you are repping the BWA, I like the smell. Okay, this is not rate my poo, but I challenge you for my CBW title. If you have the courage, if you have the audacity. Yeah, why not? I just came out of retirement. Ooh, I keep hearing shit. I don't know if it's coming from me or. Okay, put it away. Anyway, I challenge you to the CBW match. Is it final, or are you gonna be smoked like this cigarette for being a pussy? It's final. Alright, I'll smell your shit later.
A guy named Bryce Adams found us, wanted us to train, wanted us to be part of his group called Fake. Now this is a pro wrestling organization starting up called Farcical Athletic Kayfabe Exposure. It was going to be out of like Adamsville, Alabama. We were all for it. You know, it was another outlet for us. Some of us went, some of us did not. But we had multiple training days leading up to it. We trained with Will Owens, Johnny Rage. I think that, I want to say there was another person, but I can't fucking think of it. But either way, we had some training days, some real good training days with these guys. And this was where Corey Hollis met Will Owens. And that was his ticket, because Corey Hollis was a damn good wrestler. Very talented. That was his ticket right there, his doorway into the pro wrestling. And it worked very well for him. We did our first show. I think it was in Adamsville. I can't remember. We had some killer talent on that show. Nightmare Ted Allen. Who else? Fuck. One of the guys actually stole the fucking title because they didn't have the money to pay the talent that night. But, oh my God. So, you know, they didn't have the money to pay the talent that night. Some of the talent even got told that they couldn't work. How some of the talent got told they couldn't work at the beginning. And then because of all the incidents that happened, they brought them back and was like, hey, we got a spot for you now. Because somebody else left because we didn't have the money to pay the talent. That was fake. But yet again, that gave us talent. And that gave us an outlet to Action Mike Jackson, who picked us up the next week on his show in the same town. We main evented our very first show for Action Mike Jackson in a battle royal where I won. I screwed over MYK, or Mike Norris. But that got me in the ring. Started getting me a little bit more notarized. People started to realize who I was as a local guy. You know, Jackson started booking me on his shows in the area. I would come up there as Vega, in which Vega was an awesome character that was created in the backyard. Wore a black hood, red hood, and I would use him in the indie circuit. I wrestled Johnny Rage, Joe Hogan, El Garza, Antonio Garza, Action Mike Jackson. You know, I'd wrestle all them guys and then still be doing backyard wrestling at the same time.
Look at his fucking eye. I mean, someone set the fucking goose loose, and that's bullshit. Him's back. Him sucks a penis, not James. And I'll go ahead and set the record straight. What's this about him? I said, what? I said him sucks a penis, not James. And basically, John Rear's fork of the night, stick a fork in it, it's done. James taking on Goose. Non-title, of course, because Goose don't get a world title shot until New Year's end. Of course, tonight. But who has the belt, Ray? It's because you stole it. Doesn't matter. At New Year's end. At New Year's end. No, not tonight. Tonight. Shut up, Goose. You're fucking me up. You're really pissing me off right now. Tonight, James, Goose, non-title. James can use any weapon he wants. Wants? Shut the hell up! Dude, he sounds like a Canadian. What are you talking about? This is bullshit. James can use any weapon he wants. Shut the fuck up! Back camera on me, not him. Hey. It's all back to him! Okay. James can use any weapon he wants. Goose can't. If Goose uses any weapons, he loses #1 contendership spot at New Year's end. And the special guest referee, Thumbtack Jack. And he cannot mess with Thumbtack Jack either, or he loses that privilege of #1 contendership spot. And Talon, he'll have Vega tonight. Man he's never beat. And it is for a pure championship title match. Non-title tonight, of course.
So, you know, who was I? I was this guy jobbing most of the time to these guys on these shows. Then on the weekly show for Backyard Wrestling, I was usually out there as the champion, wrestling Mac Daddy Matt, Sloppy J, you know, these guys. I kept at it, constantly going, all the time, week after week, for hell, years, literally years. I was out there on a weekly basis. You know, like Action Mike Jackson, them guys, on a Friday, Saturday night. Backyard wrestling on a Sunday. Over and over and over. Years. That's who I was. I put in years worth of work before people hated me. And it's okay. To this day, it no longer bothers me that so many fucking people blew their fucking gasket over me stabbing them. We're going on 10 years now of when I first stabbed him. It's nothing but a thought now for me. It don't bother me. People really don't fucking mention it. People now, they consider me a legend in the South. Back then, people fucking hated me. No one wanted to know me. Everyone fucking said I wouldn't last. Everyone said I wouldn't make it. Everyone said I couldn't fucking do it. But look at what I did. I won those titles. I won that tournament that they tried to screw me out of. The Backyard from 2000 to roughly 2008, 2009, every year, every month, every week, busted my ass.
Huh. I gotta take this.
James is in there taking his piss test right now.
Right now?
Yes.
I mean, I got an idea. Hey, I got piss.
James is in there taking his test.
I got a piss first anyway.
No, I was here first.
I was out here first.
No, by the way, good match, man.
Yeah, I didn't win it.
I know, but you had all the potential to win. Sketch just got lucky. That's all it was.
He had an idea.
Yeah.
Well, see, that one time I accidentally hit you. It's because
Because Sketch moved.
Sketch moved out of my way and it hit him.
Yeah. So I don't blame you for that. You know, if you ever want a shot at the CBW title, just ask me.
I will. Right now I'm trying to get my hand in action. You know, I got Justice up next.
That's a piss test!
I thought it was a piss test.
It's a test. Wait a minute. This is authentic. Oh!
That's his roller shit, man.
What?
Oh my
Man, you're gross, man.
What?
I'm thinking guessing your title shot now. You're gross. It was a piss test, you dumbass.
Doing that shit. I'm not going to say tuning my skill, because we went out there and just had fun. We went out there and just did crazy shit. Over and over and over. Met some of the best friends I ever could fucking meet out there. Did, God, blood. Over. You know, you don't understand right now how it feels to me to express what the fuck I did. And I hope you're watching all this shit, watching these clips, because people, they didn't know who the fuck I was. And I'm only discussing the backyard in this one. That's all I'm giving you right now. What I did in the fucking backyard.
Come on, I think it's illegal.
Years of it. Almost broke my neck twice in the backyard. Met the love of my life in the backyard. Back in these days, I didn't give a shit about the indies at all. During these days, I went to WWE live at the Kill Center in St. Louis, but could I name one indie fed in Illinois? Fuck no. And what's bad is I know Mid-South ran in Indiana and all that kind of shit. Kentucky, I didn't know them back then. Honestly, if I did know them back then, I probably would have went and trained around them and tried to get into Mid-South, but I didn't do it because I didn't even know them. When I moved to the South, Big James Mayhem introduced me to, IWA Deep South death matches, and straight up, I didn't want nothing to do with it at first. I was dedicated to the backyard. My wife even told me that I sold out when I went to do pro wrestling. Because for the longest time, I said I would never fucking do indie wrestling. I didn't want nothing to do with it. We went to a show in the Zamora Shrine Temple, which is technically Irondale, Alabama, for Wrestle Birmingham. Main event was a cage match. They had all kinds of legends on the show. So I was expecting, oh God, this is going to be an awesome fucking show. WWE level show. I sat sat there disappointed as hell. Hated it. Like, more upset than, I ever could have been. And that was a nail in the coffin for me. I was like, fuck indie wrestling here in Alabama. Didn't want nothing to do with it. We kept doing crazy shit in the backyard. BWA. Kept doing it. Kept doing it over and over and over. Until I finally kind of had that itch to do something a little bit more extreme. And, we did Lineville. We did all these BWA shows. Pro South. I did all these other shows. But then I met Kevin, did IWA Deep South. Did my first show at Southern Discomfort. And you know, that changed everything. And I'm not going to get fully into that right now. Because I'm going to be discussing the backyard. And even when I was doing pro, even after that, we did we did a backyard show in the 2010, I believe, called BWA Homecoming, where I went back out there, did a match with the CBW guys, Matt and Sloppy. I was tagged up with Wicked Clown. We did a murder match, which is basically just a fucking death match. You know, I was doing that shit while I was doing these local indie shows. That's what a lot of people don't know about me and never understood, was what I put in. You know, the work that I put in. Yes, I did backyard wrestling, and I fucking loved it. Still do. And the whole creation of, you know, the whole deathmatch forest thing that is getting built right now. I've wrestled in the woods before. That's not a new thing for me. But what I want to do is bring out new talent. I want to have a green light to produce something new, something that's never been done before. And, you know, if people hate it, they hate it. But I guarantee you they're going to fucking watch it. Because half of my subscribers aren't the ones watching my video. The most people that watch my video on my YouTube channel, John Rare, are unsubscribed. So half of them are probably fucking haters that sit there and shit on me, that don't want to subscribe, but they want to sit there and watch my fucking videos because they fucking hate me. Which is fine. It's what I did. You know, my character was born out of hate, literally. People hated me, and that's fine. John Alexander became John Rare. And honestly, I made my money, and I've made my name. So this was Before They Hated Rare, Part 1. Hopefully you enjoyed.